Hello and welcome to the final bell. I can't believe we are back. The official Geelong Cats podcast for season 2023. The Cats, well, they're still the reigning champs. They'll be the reigning champs all year, I suppose, until next grand final. But round one's about to get underway. So it all starts again. 0-0 is every single team in the competition. We are back for another season. They've kindly let me back in the building, which is very, very nice. Scotty Gullen, who's been with the podcast for the whole time, 5 or 6 years now, is not going to be with us in a full-time capacity. I want to say a big, big thank you to Scotty Gullen for his contribution. I know all of you listeners loved talking with him, loved the fact that he always had one eye on the NBA TV in the any time we were recording it, seeing how the Boston Celtics were going. But Scotty will still have some role to play at the Cats over time with some of his writing, and obviously a quality journalist for the Herald Sun. But taking his seat, I'm very, very excited to announce that the skipper of the AFLW team here at the Cats, Meghan McDonald, is with us full-time for the entire season. You're going to be with us, Meg, I hope.
That's the plan. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
I don't know if I'm confident enough yet to have one eye on something else while I'm doing it. I'm fully locked in for today, even though training's happening just outside here ahead of Friday night. So it's all happening.
It has that feel about it, doesn't it? We've got here, so we're recording this in the boardroom. The main training session is going on right now. We're going to be talking to Simon Lloyd, the GM of footy, a little bit later on. So no doubt we'll kind of gauge the excitement of the footy department. But you're in the inner sanctum. You're inside. You actually work here at the Cats. For a complete outsider like me now, who's just a fan. I'm pumped.
No,
I'm so excited.
It's good to hear. I feel like, it sounds like a cliche, but you do, when you're inside the footy club, you get into the day-to-day, getting things done, staying in routine, staying focused. And it's not until you sort of zoom out or go and speak to people on Paco, or I went to the season launch last week, that you're reminded of that taste, of that excitement, and to think that I'll be there at the G on Friday night along with what we hope is going to be 90,000 people. I think that's looking like we might get there. I'm ready to go again.
It'll be so good. We will keep an eye on the training session, and we might ask Lloydie a little bit about how maybe Tom Hawkins or Mitch Duncan's travelling. See if we can get anything out of him. He always plays it pretty straight.
He does. I've seen he's got his collared shirt and blazer on today, so I think he'll be
he's in
serious
focus mode. I should have also mentioned too, big thank you to Tom Lonigan, who was part of the podcast last year as well. Domsy can't be with the podcast this year because he's gone to the other blue and white team, the Blues, Carlton. He's working there in I think it's a part coaching, part learning the ropes of a GM of footy type role, admin there. So we wish him all the very best. He'll do an outstanding job there. It's a great get by Carlton. So thanks to Domsy for what he provided last year. That leaves you and I, Meg, to break down the pre-season. Maybe look a little bit ahead to Friday night, and the good thing you'll notice that Scotty and I used to do, we put a whole bunch of people into the team. We never leave anyone out of the team.
Cool. I'm all about that because I've been watching those pre-season matches going, I'm happy it's not my job.
Yeah, and some big recruits. It was a big off-season. Maybe that's where we begin. So the Cats win the premiership. It was magnificent. What a day that was, knocking off the Sydney Swans. Just an incredible atmosphere. Joel Selwood's last game, one of the greatest ever. Certainly, I think the greatest ever all-round contribution from a player to the Geelong Football Club. The game's record holder, the most games as captain in the AFL. I should have done even more research. I think it was 6-time All-Australian. Everything.
3-time All-Australian captain, I think.
Correct.
Maybe.
Everything that he's provided. There's a hole there with him going out, but Patrick Dangerfield becomes captain. Tom Stewart becomes his vice-captain again. Really great appointments for the club. Tanner Bruin comes in. Ollie Henry comes in. Jack Bowes comes in. A new bunch of draftees come in. It's a changing list, but it's still got an incredible core that was able to produce in the grand final last year.
Absolutely. As you say, with Joel goes, an irreplaceable, depth of knowledge. And, I don't want to say enough has been said because so much can continue to be said about what a fantastic Geelong person he is. But it does only open up one spot in the 23. Is it 23 this year? 22? Gosh, how am I going? I'm getting my... What is it this year?
So it is 23.
23.
But it is not it's not a medical sub. It's basically
use it when you want
a
sub.
tactical sub.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm glad we've both just
Yeah,
checked.
we're all over it, everyone. Don't you worry.
As I'm off to work on Friday night on radio doing the Cats game and then a Sunday game for Channel 7, we're just actually working out what the rules are ourselves right now. Thanks for that, Meg.
No worries. But yeah, as you say, we're in such a fortunate position as a club to be coming off, one of the most successful years in the club's history, and yet have, be in a position to be perhaps even more excited about what's to come and more excited about who's become a Geelong person in the past 6 months. And, they're such, as is the way with, I find with everyone here, they're such wonderful people first and foremost, and they're just as exciting on the field. Anyone's caught your eye in particular?
I am, and not for the reason of missing out on the grand final and the one heartbreaking story there. Just what he produced last year is an improvement, and where I think his game could go to, it's Max Holmes.
Yeah.
He was integral to the way the team played, and obviously very, very integral to the qualifying final win.
Yes.
But his level of play was elevating every single game he played. I think he was learning an inside craft as well as that phenomenal running ability. Where he can take his game to just makes me so excited. A little bit later on, I want to play something throughout the year where we maybe just hit each other with a question without notice. Mine relates a little bit to what we're sort of alluding to here. So I will hold it back. Or maybe we have.
I'll be so impressed with our sync on episode 1 if we've got the same question. Okay. But we'll see. We'll see.
Right. Hold on to that for just a second.
Yeah.
I want to see those, hopefully, and we'll ask Simon Lloyd a bit later, but I want to see Tanner Bruin. Does he elevate his game as he's surrounded by this environment, these players, GWS, and there's not a shot at them, but it was a bit of a mess towards the end of last year, and Leon Cameron moving and that he comes into a system where he can really show his very best self. And then Ollie Henry as well, who got to play in a really good team at Collingwood, showed glimpses. I know Collingwood desperately wanted to hold on to him. To see him in this environment as well, that makes me excited.
Both of those I completely agree with. Watching Tanner in the game here against Hawthorn and then up against the Lions, he's hard. I mean, it's he's an inside mid, so as he should be, but I was so impressed with, how he was attacking the ball and also his opponent. So you can never get enough of that in a footy team. And a little shout out to the Henrys. I have been lucky enough to be going to a few gym classes run by Karen, the Henrys' mum. And so to see her excitement having both the boys at Geelong and, the way that Ollie's been able to get his hands on the ball and his athleticism is so exciting in the front half. And, I hope we get to see him play against his old team round 1, because the stage is set for some of his grabs and some of his goal sense.
Collingwood fans will be gentle with him, of course. They're known for that sort of thing.
Yeah, were you there round 3 last year? I was. This is what playing at the G in a full house is all about. Yeah.
It's funny that I think I might have mentioned on last year's podcast after the qualifying final. I took my 3 boys with me, just me and the 3 boys, and it was that twilight game. It was the earliest start. So it was just a brilliant family time. The atmosphere of that game and what the Collingwood fans bring to the game, and all the ones around us were so loud, so passionate, but so wonderfully positive. I had a brilliant experience. And my oldest son turned to me and said, I don't like when Collingwood kick a goal, but gee, their fans are great. Or something like that. Or they make a great noise, I think he might have said. And he was right. That energy of a Geelong Collingwood big MCG crowd, it'll be a wonderful atmosphere on Friday night.
Oh, I'm envious of you having been there. We were on the bus after one of our home and away games, and I mean, we got some great footage of the girls watching the game, but to have been there and to have felt the atmosphere, hopefully we can replicate it again on Friday night, because, as you say, it's a super exciting place to be, and we just need every member to come up the highway.
Well, let's get to Friday night then. Let's turn our attention there. Before we get on field, a little bit happening off the field. You probably know this better than I do, but it'll be pretty special. I think Joel Selwood and Steve Hocking, the CEO of the club, they're going to lead a march to the G. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe it starts in Fed Square at 5:30, I think, and they're BYO Premiership Cup, and they'll walk it in there before doing a before doing a lap of honour.
Joel,
at which time I'm sure the Collingwood fans will make that noise again.
Yes.
In appreciation.
Yeah, and I think with Joel they do. I think
Yeah.
that's the thing I noticed, that even opposition fans were standing up and just going,
Absolutely.
yeah, what a career. He was the one everyone loved to hate while he was in amongst it, and you know, plenty of jeers and boo and everything like that. But deep down, I think every opposition supporter was saying, yeah, I wouldn't mind Joel Selwood on my team, playing for my team every
Not
week.
to go back on that one, but I'm interested in your opinion on whether, you know, we speak about such a huge hole having been left. Do you think we know yet, or are there times in the future where we'll know whether that void's been filled or not?
No, I think it'll take a little while to play out. And what I mean by that, so over the pre-season, I think you would have had, naturally, Paddy and Tommy Stewart and Mark Blitzarves and Cam Guthrie, and these guys will step up into that role. I think where it'll be noticed and where the challenge comes for those, and not just those guys, but maybe 10, 15, 20 of the guys, is deep in July.
Yes.
When it's hard, when it's cold, when you're sore, when maybe in the last 4 games we've gone 2-2.
Yeah.
And even the wins were a little gritty and we're not playing
Unconvincing,
best footy. And that's where a Joel's influence just drives the group. Hey, don't worry about all that. Don't worry about let's get back to what we do well. Let's get back and focusing on the details that we need to. Let's have a team meeting where we get something out of it. Make sure this training session's a really high quality one. The conversations around the club are still positive and still strong, and you get through that grind time. That's where the challenges are going to lie, and we won't see that for a while, obviously, until we get to that portion of the season. But I don't know if you've sensed this around. I sense the team and the club is as ready as they possibly can be to fill that. So it could have been Paddy Dangerfield as captain, and very, very well deserved. But it could have been Tom Stewart, or it could have been Mark Blitzarves. It could have been Tom Hawkins. It could have been Mitch Duncan. It could have been any. I think there were so many possibilities because there is such a good, strong, positive leadership group within the playing group at the club.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's right. There's a plethora of options for us to choose from, or for the club to have chosen from. But and sometimes that can be a blessing and a curse. I mean, you can have all these strong voices, and it takes those players with those voices to be committed to the whole and the team and the shared success for that to work well. But I think, you know, the sense is that those men have been working together for a number of years across a very successful period of time, and I know Paddy and Tom are committed to sounding them out as often as possible and really, you know, leading together. So it's exciting, and I believe, you know, I think it's Paddy's 150th game in the hoops this weekend. So what an occasion! Oh,
what an occasion! I like it even more. Just a little note: 7:40 start time,
7:40,
not the traditional Friday night 7:50 start time. If you do want to come and join in that march from Fed Square, as Meg just said, 5:30, heads off, head on down, and then Joel will do the lap. Also, they'll acknowledge Sean Higgins and Luke Dalhouse, who both retired.
I think we need people to be
season.
seated by 7:15 to see the lap of honour.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. Then the game starts, Meg. Where do we begin? Let's try and fit a really healthy, really driven, really quality group of players into the final 23. As we mentioned, there's the tactical substitution now can be used at any point in time. Tom Hawkins, we might ask Lloydie about him a little bit later on, but my initial take going back a month or so was he wasn't playing the first couple of rounds. Yeah. Now we're starting to hear some.
I know,
nice
he's
positivity.
in the media, and he's a pretty smiley guy in general, but he's looking good. It's a spring in the step, which is important when you're coming off a foot injury.
Yes. So my understanding, Jack Henry ruled out with his injury and with his foot. Sam Menegola has been ruled out as well. Mitch Duncan, I'm assuming, is not playing. Again, we might ask Lloydie about that a little bit later on. But maybe, obviously, just like Hawk, probably putting his hand up as well. Do you expect, I'm just going to... Do you expect to see Ollie Henry, Tanner Bruin?
Yes.
Jack Bowes?
Yes.
Jai Clark, everyone's interested in him.
I haven't seen as much of Jar. Am I making this final call?
Yeah, no, I'm
But you
just
said I didn't
interested.
have to stick to 23, so I'll just keep nodding my head as you list all the players. No, I think those three who have AFL level experience, to see them on the big stage round one, I'm excited for, and we got plenty of time with everyone else.
Yeah. Max Holmes,
Surely,
surely.
he can't kick the match sealer against the Pies last time.
As far as makeup of the team, do you see many different positional changes?
I don't know. I mean, what I'm really interested in, and I've been thinking leading up to this round one, was all the fantastic media that's been coming out looking back at the premiership. That's when you can speak openly and freely about your game plan from last year. So we're speaking about, we've got such a fantastic forward line, get it in there quicker, happy days, right? Our forward line hasn't changed too much. In fact, you could argue with the addition of Ollie, we've got another string to our bow. So the messaging from Chris Scott has also been, but we're not going to stagnate, but we're going to add things and add layers. So I don't know where those layers are going to come from.
All right. While we're on this topic, let's get to the question without notice. I want to throw it in here because it's just going to flow straight into it. Mm-hmm. Be interested to see if this is this is going to match. Joel Selwood, the great Joel Selwood.
Yeah.
Let's call it 18 minutes a quarter played midfield.
Yeah.
Times 4, 72 minutes. Mm-hmm. You've got 72 minutes of midfield time to fill. Who takes those 72 minutes?
Whoa. Am I breaking it? Well, is it all going to one player?
No, it doesn't have to. But you'd think.
I'm giving Tanner Bruin a whole stack.
Okay.
Parfitt? That's another one that's, he got some key minutes at the end of the granny, but wasn't in there for a lot of it. Maybe I'll go with 45 to Tanner, 25 to Parf, and how many is that left? What have I got, 10 to spare?
Sounds right, 10 to 12.
And I'll throw Maxi in there. Your boy Max Holmes in there for a bit.
More inside.
Yeah, more inside than outside.
Okay.
Who are you going with?
I am.
Pulled that out of nowhere.
Hey, it was question without notice for you.
I
didn't
even
actually
mention
prepare.
Jack Bowes.
I didn't prepare anything for myself. No, I think Brandon Parfitt goes in and plays big minutes early on in the year, and then I think the others are spread. So you said Tanner Bruin with a bigger chunk, and then
I did, yeah.
I think it'll be Parfitt initially with the bigger chunk, with a smattering from those other ones you mentioned. Okay. Bruin, Holmes, I think Ollie Henry. We might even see a couple of minutes
here. Love these, okay.
Because depending on that forward line makeup, I think Tom Atkins stays in the midfield because of his just outstanding season he has. Blitzarv's obviously doing whatever Blitz wants to do. Cam Guthrie's in there. Paddy's in there.
What a treat we've got.
Good luck fitting all those in. But I think initially, but Joel being that inside mid, I think Parfitt shifts into that role a little bit more. What's your question?
All right, I'm going to return serve. So a little bit on the subject of are players playing or not, the movement of Joel. We've seen Tom Stewart missed for 4 games last year, and I remember at the time thinking, oh dear, we won the 4 games. It was a real accelerant towards what we ended up achieving. In your opinion, who is the most irreplaceable Cats player? Because we've covered some, when you're a successful team and you're going well, the beauty of it is that
the most irreplaceable.
Player, yes. Who is most fundamental?
Troy sitting down the end of the boardroom table giving you a clap there.
Yeah. We're going to cover
the most in a one-off game, or if you lost him for the season.
Oh my gosh. We've lost him for 6 weeks.
6 weeks. I think after last season and where he went to, which was just a whole new stratosphere, was Jeremy Cameron.
Jezza. Interesting.
So Blitz is almost my next choice because of everything that he allows around him. He allows defenders to set up a certain way, he allows wingers to run a certain pattern, he allows mids to do what they do based all around Mark Blitzarv's movement and moves. And the coaches utilise that to get a tactical advantage wherever he is needed and communicate really well with him where he can call that. So Blitz provides that. But then there's just...
So you've made a great case for him, but there's the brilliance.
Well, then there's just something special about a Jeremy Cameron who for 2 minutes you can throw into the middle of the ground and go, oh, it's been a bit of an arm wrestle in the middle, just need something to break our way, Jez can go in there and get it. Or he is one out inside forward 50 and the opposition defenders, every one of them, is panicking and turning over, looking over their shoulder going, we can't leave that, we cannot leave that.
I was going to swear then, but I don't know if we can on this podcast in terms of what the defenders would be thinking in that situation.
Well, you imagine, you see somebody that good a player down forward, even if you're not playing that player, you know, oh God, I need to go
don't want it
help.
Coming in high or on the ground or anywhere in between.
So I think Jez and Tom Hawkins' selflessness with Jez makes it all work superbly. But I think the fear factor now with Jez from opposition teams of, but what if he just rips this next 7 minutes apart, means others are reacting to Jez. So I think it's him.
Okay. I did prepare an answer. I know you didn't for yours, but I was thinking on it myself. And I just didn't know if you'd give your number's sake. How do we say it?
Number's sake? Yeah. You're talking about Brad Close.
I'm talking about Brad.
It's the best 45 ever. I love him.
Wow.
Absolutely love him.
I saw him in the kitchen before, so I'll pass that on if I see him again. Obviously, you've got Jet. I mean, I completely agree with what you've said, but in terms of, how the team took it to the next level last year, the role of those small forwards and Tyson, Brad, Gryan, I don't know. Over a sustained period of time, I think, who am I to compare it? I mean, do you get what I'm trying to say?
I get your point, because structurally you need those players getting up and back and up and back. It's a power of running, but just good runners, you can't have there, because eventually a defender goes, you can run up and back all you like, but I'm just going to go and position myself on Hawkins or Cameron. Brad Close gets into positions where you have to respect him. You have to go, and he gets half a chance,
and he finishes.
And he finishes with the goal, or he finishes with a lace-out pass to one of the other guys. So it's a good call.
I'm just trying to get in with the selfless types,
Yes. Good one. I like it. Hey, one other name I just want to quickly ask you before we take a break. Simon Lloyd's going to join us very, very shortly. Now,
you going to pronounce it?
I've practiced this now.
Okay, go. Give it to me.
Oisin Mullen.
Oisin, yeah.
Am I right?
I'll let him tell you whether you're...
I'm sorry if I got that one wrong.
I live with Rachel Kieran's, our Irish player in AFLW, and I'm still not confident to go with it, but...
Okay.
Continue, sorry.
Well, our great mate, a great friend of the podcast, Zach Toohey, who was previously on it regularly, he made some unbelievable comments about Oisin Mullen, saying, I'm not sure people realise how big a deal Oisin is in Ireland. He's just about the best young footballer in Ireland, if not the best, certainly one of the best. It really would be like pulling Nick Dacos out of the AFL. So Nick Dacos, who's just dominated the Rising Star and was
Let's do that before Friday night, shall we?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. What have you seen from him at training?
First and foremost, shout out to the Irish for just being legends. Much like Zach, you say, and Mark, he's come in and he's just the dedication to the craft and the appreciation of the opportunity. That's what I've seen. I saw him out here against Hawthorn taking a very neat little switch kick, and so I think he's off half back. Word on the street is that he has got some serious wheels, some real pace. And I don't know, I'd like to be called the Nick Dacos of anything, really.
Yeah.
It'd be nice.
It'd be very nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It's incredible how quickly the Irish guys pick up. Now, I know Gaelic has some similarities, but it is a completely different ball, and they've got to learn to kick. And then also, whilst trying not to think too much about the kicking, they've got to have awareness of the game and those things moving around us. To learn from Zach and Mark would be great for him. If he's and I take Zach at his word about how good a player he is in the Gaelic game to come over here. He's got two great role models there.
Oh, he's got two of the best, and really, I know I can't imagine. You sort of think, of course, you come over, what a fantastic opportunity to play in front of all these crowds in a professional setting. But then, to say to one of us, how about you go over there, move halfway across the world on your own and try and make it in a completely foreign sport? I don't think we really appreciate how much of an ask that is to do at such a young age. So credit to them. And as you say, if he's, plays a plays half as many games as Zach does and has, half as much impact, then he'll be doing pretty well.
Absolutely. Hopefully we see him at some stage. I'm sure we will in the blue and white hoops. I want to take a break. Simon Lloyd, the GM of footy, is coming up for the Cats. I did just get handed this little one. I like this, with Paddy Dangerfield taking over as the new Geelong captain.
Oh, yeah. I thought you might like this.
Yeah.
All right, go on.
He joins a special group of players to take over a premiership captain from the year before in Geelong's history. A little trivia one for our listeners who love their trivia. In 1932, after the 31 premiership, Reg Hickey took over from Ted Baker. In 2010, I took over from Tom Harley. 2012, the great Joel Selwood took over from myself. And now Paddy Dangerfield takes over from Joel Selwood. So whenever Paddy's ready to move on, at whatever point that might be.
We'll clear a spot in the trophy cabinet.
Yeah, let's get a premiership going again. Paddy, just keep that one going, please. That'd be a nice tradition to continue.
And you don't have to retire after your first. I'll just say that much.
Yes.
I don't plan to, so all good.
Yeah, when...
it's coming. I don't know. No, would you? I don't actually know the answer to this. I'm sure you asked it a lot at the time. Had you not won, were you going to hang them up?
It's a funny way. My mind,
because you weren't. You were 30.
30, yeah. You'll learn this over the course of the year now that we're going to work closely together. My brain's not quite normal. I was able to I was very good at compartmentalising.
Yeah.
And I just refused to acknowledge the question of whether I was going to play on in the build-up to the grand final. I don't know, Joel's spoken openly that he'd made the decision. I hadn't. If deep down you'd forced me, you just, held me at gunpoint and said, you have to tell us, I probably would have said, yeah, I'm probably going to retire. But I just refused to even allow myself to acknowledge that question. So if we'd lost... I don't know what the answer to that question would be.
That's the elite sports person in you, I think.
Yeah.
Total focus on the present.
That was one of my very few strengths. I was able to do that. I also am very, very good at getting grumpy and stubborn. So if we'd lost, I probably would have got grumpy and stubborn and said, yeah, let's do this again and let's go back one more time. I'm glad I didn't have to answer that question though. 7:40 Friday night is the big game that we've been talking about against the Pies. I'm sure all of our listeners know that. And to get down to the nitty-gritty of exactly what the build-up's been like, Simon Lloyd, the GM of footy, is coming up next. Welcome back to the final bell. It is great to have you with us. Now, as promised, we've dragged him from downstairs. All the meetings are going on at the moment ahead of this first massive game against the Pies. The GM of footy, Simon Lloyd, is up here with us. Lloydie, great to see you.
Great to be here, Lingy. Meg.
Hey, Lloydie.
It's got that exciting feel about it. So for us, it does. We've been talking about it this entire show, how excited we are, who we might watch, what's going to happen on Friday night, all of that. I sense there's got to be more of a calmness downstairs and as you go about the business of building up to round one. But do you still get that sense? It is still round one and still super exciting?
Yeah, so you do try and, relay that calmness across the business. Opposition meeting, and we've covered a lot on Collingwood and covered what we need to do and what to expect and those type of things. And even this morning when I walked out of my house and closed my front door, my neighbour walked past with his dog and he said, 3 sleeps to go, Simon, 3 sleeps, and forget last year, it's on to this year. And just fantastic, Jamil. Yeah.
At least he's picking up what you've been putting down all summer, which is on to this year. We see the boys are out there for the final main training session. Is the indication for this session to go hard, get ready, or is it wrap yourselves in cotton wool?
Look, there's never any cotton wool wrapping, unless it's grand final week, I suppose. But it's we had some big sessions. Last Friday we had a really big hit out to Deakin University, and you tend to know when a session's been good, what they get out of the session. But we did get a lot of what we were after last week, and we've trained Sunday and Monday, and now it's just the ramp in to make sure they're feeling really fresh and ready to go in front of 90,000 plus on Friday night.
The team hasn't been selected yet, I understand, but I'm sure our listeners are keen to know about a couple of the veterans and whether or not they're out there running around, how they're going. Is there a final word yet on Mitch Duncan, and also Tommy Hawkins was the other one coming into the season under a little bit of a cloud?
Yeah, so we've obviously got finalising match committee this afternoon, and we're almost there. But I can see both Mitch and Tommy running around at the moment as we speak. Mitch has just returned from South Australia only yesterday, and he went across there just to freshen up and continue with his program and get some treatment from one of our physios and sports scientists in Steve Saunders over in South Australia. So he's put in a big block of training and kicking and running and all those sort of things. And Tom Hawkins, he's moving really freely at the moment. So Tom, he's changing direction. There's large volumes of work, and you can see he's bounced in this morning, and he's
giving the coaches a nod.
Yeah, he's up and about. He's up and about. So that's where you really feel that I think everyone's pre-season's done, and they know the real thing's here.
Listeners who, like me, will have been eating up the greatest team of all and the various docos that have been released recently, and you speak a lot, especially in the sense of injuries and getting ready for finals, about the lessons you learned about pacing yourself, resting players when required. What other lessons are you taking into 2023 from such a successful year?
I think this is a series of podcasts, Meg. It's
good.
There's a lot of lessons. I suppose we've had a lot of lessons over a number of years, and I think what happens, the culmination of last year is really it's a build up of, this time last year we were coming off losing a preliminary final by 83 points. We'd lost the grand final the year prior. So you do pick up learnings along the way, and we're taking those learnings from the last 3+ years into the present moment now. So people talk about complacency and those type of things. We actually know how hard it is to actually get there, and we know the highs and we know the lows, and we know also we're able to compare, from a metrics point of view, we're able to compare what we were doing this time last year to what we're actually doing now, and from a conditioning perspective, from a training perspective, but we also know we need to get better. And that's a big thing. We're just trying to grow and improve, and that's all of us. That's across the football club, but it's across our playing group as well.
Tied into that is the leadership of the playing group, and there is a big hole with the great Joel Selwood retiring, and one of the greatest to ever don the blue and white hoops. How have you seen the group? Obviously, Paddy Dangerfield gets announced captain, Tom Stewart vice captain, fantastic appointments, and clearly they've been leaders for a long, long time themselves. But have you noticed within that hole that Joel creates that there are those elevating themselves, not trying to replace Joel or anything like that, doing it by themselves, but is there a number of players, and maybe some left field ones that you didn't really expect, who've jumped up and thought, okay, I can start setting a bit of an example when it comes to that type of standard within the club?
Yeah, Lingy, we probably saw it this time last year that Joel is He's incredible what he's actually, I'm stating the obvious, what he's done for this football club and what he has done for the game, and his ability to not just focus on football, but the community and everything that makes up an organisation. You've got to be very careful not to compare the new players that are coming into roles to Joel, and it's hard not to at different points of time. But we've actually found it, we've gone through a very long process around talking to a large cross-section of our playing group, of our staff. Meg, you and I sat down and spoke about your thoughts on leadership and where it should go. And we've learnt a lot about, we've probably got, it's just not Paddy and Tom Stewart. There's a group of 11 to 15 who feel that this is their club. And so that's probably the key in all this, that whilst we saw Joel and for his greatness and what he did and how he led into battle, but we do have a lot of players across large cross section, and they're the likes of obviously Tom Hawkins and Mitch Duncan and Cam Guthrie and Jeremy Cameron, and the list goes on. But then there's also your Mark O'Connors and Tommy Atkins and others that are coming through, Jack Henry, that are coming through, and this is their club now, and they really want to lead where we need to go.
As true as that is about the large group of leaders within the team, it was just you and Danger that went over to Harvard University. Is that correct? So
it was.
I'm interested in yes, what you learned, what the course was about, how you grew, everything that you make us jealous. But firstly, was there an entry requirement? Did you have to sit an exam, or what is it in the US? The
we actually did
GP
have to apply.
grade point average? What is
Yeah,
it?
we had to apply to, so there was an application
Did you write
process
that?
and for Pat or for myself.
Well, both.
No, look, I wrote it for myself and Pat did his, and we bounced a few things off each other at different points of time. But it was one of those things, Meg, that I'd had my eye on this for a good 4 or 5 years, and I suppose part of my role is so much as negotiation and competitive decision making, which that's what the course was. And to be able to, go across the other side of the country and have 90 other people.
World.
Yeah.
Outside of the world.
Outside of the world, I should say. Should have done something in geography.
So you probably need a passport to get there.
Yeah, so to have, 90 other participants within the program, and they're from, Japan, South Africa, the UK, Madagascar,
Oh, wow.
you name it, and across many different fields. But all of a sudden, we were put into situations and negotiation simulations where you're uncomfortable, and you had to really prepare and then execute and then analyse how you went within those negotiations. So it was one of those situations where you walk away and you think, well, you're a lot more richer in regards to what you've learnt. You understand where your biases might lay. You understand about the rational decision making and the psychology of decision making, those type of things. But also you realise what you don't know, and picking up cues and those type of things, because it's so, I think, across the club, and that's something that we're really focusing on, whether it be players or staff, how you can grow, and you do need to put yourself in uncomfortable situations to be able to grow.
Did they put you against danger at any stage?
So I didn't have a negotiation with him until the last day.
Oh, okay.
And so it was a team negotiation, and had to tell Pat to settle down at one stage because it got heated. And so basically you had situations where they were emotionally charged situations. You had people walking out of the room, and it was amazing how well it was set up, and there were a lot of learnings.
Hopefully that's not a sign of things to come when they're negotiating Paddy's next contract as they sit down. I'm sure it won't be, but it is one of the challenges you face and the entire club, keeping the list as competitive as it possibly can be. And obviously everybody else now is trying to come at the Cats because they are the reigning champs. But the off-season was quite fruitful in some of the pickups. I just want to throw a couple of names at you to finish up, because I'm sure our listeners are keen to hear how they're travelling along through pre-season and maybe round one, or maybe as they build into the season, how they're going to go. Tanner Bruin?
So Tanner, we've obviously seen he's silky, skillful, strong contested player, and he'll be very important to us going forward.
Ollie Henry? Been hearing magnificent things about him through the pre-season.
Athletic, great in the air, constantly gets shots on goal, which I love. You'll often find that he'll have 3 or 4 shots on goal a game, and the scope for Ollie is huge.
Do you reckon we're going to get out of him whether any of these are playing round one? His cards are close. Cards are close to the chest, which I like.
This is all that training coming to the fore.
Yes. Jack Bowes.
Jack Bowes has a lot of time and space. I think we saw here against Hawthorn, once he has ball in hand, he's just got plenty of time, and he knows where to go to get plenty of the football as well. But probably those 3, Lingy, they've got an enormous scope for improvement. So that's the key thing. So the strategy that was put into recruiting those people, and you do need to take your opportunities at different points of time, but the strategy from Andrew Mackey and our list management team, they did a great job, and to be able to execute it as well.
It is exciting, combining those who have had some experience, combined with some of the draftees. Obviously, Jai Clark was picked up with our first pick, and I'm sure that almost the luxury, if I can use that word, of the club is they can build a Jai Clark type player slowly over the season and not just put him out there because almost you're trying to sell hope to the fans. Is that a situation where maybe some of these draftees, like Ajay, I keep using him, could play, but you might just hold him back a couple more weeks until he's really ready to play?
That's a really key point, and it's important for our members and supporters to hear that loud and clear, Lingy. We've got, Jai's 18 years old, and all of a sudden he's in stoppages against Cam Guthrie and Patrick Dangerfield and, big balls that have been doing this for many, many years. And so we've just got to really take our time in building his body and his craft. So you've got to set him up to succeed as well. And so we're really trying to build his capabilities over a period of time. And I think all of our new recruits that have come in, and most clubs will say this, but they're, from a character point of view, they're wonderful young men, and they've put their head down and they're working hard.
And a very famous name too there, Oscar Riccardi. I'm keen to see how he goes throughout the season. Is he pre-season been all right?
It's
Oscar?
Been very good. He's obviously, his one wood is his run.
Yes.
And so we do see that. And
that'd be nice.
Yes.
I'd love to be able to say that.
So you've got a one wood though.
It's not my run, but I appreciate
yes.
I appreciate
everyone
that,
needs a one
Lloydie.
wood.
You know what's worrying me though now is son of a player I played with. Like seeing more and more of those coming through. I'm like, oh, hang on a sec, I am getting old. But hopefully Oscar goes really, really well.
I feel like all my age contemporaries are retiring, so all good. I actually,
imagine how I feel.
Speaking of, you gave us a nice little summary of every player there, but before we let you go, did you see the recent AFL.com article on the GMs of football across the comp? I'd just like to know whether you read your own little...
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
I haven't read
Truth
it
or truth, you haven't seen it?
Truth, I haven't seen it.
Oh, I'll send it through. Have you seen it, Lingy?
No, did he get a pump up?
Well, every GM, they had a little bio and it said their path towards the role. So everyone had a great little pump up, but also a very serious looking photo. So it's good. Yeah, no, I felt you crack a few more smiles. Was my photo serious? It was serious.
Was he dressed up like the Prince of Paco?
There it is. GM of Football, Newtown and Prince of Paco.
Yes, I love Packington Street.
Lloydie, thank you so much for joining us today. Good luck for Friday night. Good luck for the season ahead. Hopefully we get to chat to you more throughout the year.
Love that. Thanks, Meg. Thanks Lingy.
Lloydie.
Cheers.
Great to chat with Simon Lloyd there, the GM of footy. Meg, I thought he was going to give us a little bit more selection, but as he said, the team hasn't been locked away yet. And it's round one, that build-up. Everyone wants to play. Everyone's like, if I don't get in round one, I'm never going to get in. But reality's different.
I think maybe he thinks that if he gave an inch, we'd take a mile, or maybe he'd just speak too openly. So it's all or nothing from Lloydie.
Yeah, if he had have given an inch, we would have tried to take a mile.
That's right.
That's completely fine. We better finish up. I'm so excited about Friday night, but I'm excited to be working with you, Meg. Do you reckon, what do you grade us out of 10 for our first show?
Oh, huge.
A really bad
self-reflection's important. I'm going to say 6.75.
Okay, nice. Wonder if our listeners agree with that. Hopefully they go a little higher.
You can ask for some... I've gone low. I hope.
Maybe I'm wading into dangerous territory if I ask for listener feedback. So just be nice to us. It's the first game and we're just excited for footy to be back. Right. Please, I should know this. When's the AFLW season kick off?
No one knows this, unfortunately.
No one knows. Okay.
Sooner rather than later, we hope. But
right. Still being negotiated.
Still being negotiated. I'll be hitting Lloydie up for some tips.
Negotiation skills. I like that. Maybe they could send you to Harvard as a little bit of a...
If you want to put that out there, you just do so.
Oh, it's out there now.
Well, there it is.
There we go. Meg needs some negotiating sharpening up. Yep. Harvard's the place to go. Send you over.
I'll see you there.
I'll go, but as long as I can just skip the Harvard bit, head off to TD Garden and go and watch the Celtics play and maybe watch the Pats train and everything like that.
I mean, sport and more sport. Surely you can do both.
No, count me in. Hey, speaking of something that's not exactly, it's going to be sport adjacent, football adjacent, just something for everyone to keep an eye out. I know you'll be all tuning into this podcast every single week, but if you love your podcast and wanted to listen to something with a little point of difference, a new podcast is coming out for the club. It features Tom Stewart and Zach Toohey. Now, I'll claim that we trained Zach Toohey up with the podcasting. Even though he had a brief little go with Lockie Henderson a few years ago. They started a podcast together. But him and Stewie are going to do one together. They're going to talk a little bit about footy, but their guests are going to have a bit of an insight into different things that are out there, still probably related a bit to the Cats.
Are there different things? I didn't know. I thought it was just all footy all the time.
That's good. There will be a Geelong connection. I'm sure it'll be some really interesting conversations. Knowing those two, there'll be a whole heap of fun.
Yeah.
I get the feeling that Zach will hang a little bit of you-know-what on Stewie to try and just bring out his personality a little bit more.
I'll back him in. I reckon he can take it and he can probably return serve a little himself.
I reckon you're right. It'll be a little bit different, but a whole lot of fun. The working title at the moment is Tui and Stewie. Which one of those two?
What would you give that out of 10?
It's 10 out of 10. But
10 out of 10.
Which one of them came
which
up
way,
with it?
Which way was it?
Tui and Stewie.
Oh, then Tui.
Yeah, good point.
I reckon.
Silly question by me.
Yeah.
They'll be recording their first episode of the next couple of weeks, so keep an eye out for that one. We will be back next week, hopefully talking about a terrific Cats win on Friday night. As we mentioned early, 7:40 start time. The march from Fed Square was
5:30.
5:30.
For a 6 o'clock start on the walk, I believe.
Be in your seats by
7:15.
for the lap of honour honouring the great Joel Selwood, and then the kickoff at 7:40. We've guessed we've got about 32 players into the team.
Yep.
So don't yell at us, any of the players who listen to this, when you get left out of the team. It's not Meg or my fault.
Not at all.
No, we wanted you in there. We were pumping you up.
You deserved to be there. You were absolute stiff.
We'll be back next week. Enjoy the game on Friday night. Go Cats.
Go the Cats.